Okay, let's just jump straight into this explainer. We're currently watching an absolute top-to-bottom rewiring of how you and I interact with money. We're talking about the biggest paradigm shift in financial services today, the embedded finance shift. It's a massive move away from traditional, clunky banking channels and towards something that is deeply integrated, highly contextual, and honestly, almost totally invisible. We're talking about banking as a service. Just look at this number, $7 trillion. That's the projected value of the banking as a service, or BaaS, market by the year 2030. I mean, that is just a staggering amount of money. This isn't just some passing fad. It's an entirely new ecosystem being built from the ground up. The data is super clear here. Companies who move fast to grab that priority customer context are going to see massive upside, while the ones dragging their feet, well, they're going to be left completely out in the cold. And, the sheer urgency behind this is kind of wild. When surveyed, 85% of senior executives said they are either already implementing BaaS solutions right now or they're planning to within the next 12 to 18 months. That is a massive majority. The FOMO here is very, very real. If your team isn't already having these conversations, trust me, your competitors absolutely are.
Section 1. Decoding the BaaS ecosystem. Let's break down exactly how this massive market actually functions.
So, what exactly are we talking about here? By definition, banking as a service is the provision of retail or wholesale banking products delivered in context as a service. It piggybacks on an existing licensed bank's secure infrastructure using modern APIs. You know those digital bridges that let different software talk to each other in real time? Basically, it allows a non-bank, like your favorite retailer or a tech company, to seamlessly offer highly regulated financial products exactly where you, the customer, already are. There are really three main players in this game. First up, the distributors. These are the brands embedding the services, like e-commerce platforms that already own that direct relationship with you. Then you've got the enablers, the big tech and fintech folks providing the API middleware, kind of acting as the digital glue. And finally, the providers, the licensed financial institutions actually manufacturing the compliant banking products. You really got to ask yourself, which one are you? Are you the trusted brand, the tech layer in the middle, or the licensed bank holding the capital? You can think of this ecosystem kind of like a giant, complex traffic roundabout. Navigating this multiplayer collaboration is tricky, but when everybody yields and flows together, it's a beautiful thing. Success absolutely requires all these moving parts to collaborate seamlessly without causing a single bump or friction point for the end consumer. Thanks to open APIs, the old barriers are falling, and all these players are constantly intersecting to deliver one unified experience. Now here's where the race gets really interesting. Look at this projected 3-year maturity growth. While banks and big brands might seem more established right now, notice how the enablers are just rapidly closing the gap. With a projected growth of 4.3%, they're outpacing everyone else. Why? Because they are acting as the ultimate digital middlemen, cutting down operational overhead and massively speeding up the time to market for the whole ecosystem. All right, moving on to Section 2, the embedded lending opportunity, which is easily one of the most explosive use cases driving all this growth. The growth projections here are honestly mind-blowing. Now, point-of-sale financing, like buy now, pay later at checkout, that's stealing all the flashy headlines, right? It's set to more than double with around 104% growth by 2024. But the real sleeper hit here, small and medium enterprise lending. That's projected to grow by 30%, which unlocks a massive $250 billion revenue opportunity. And that's largely because traditional banking has just historically dropped the ball when it comes to the fast, flexible needs of small businesses. Let's ground this with a quick real-world example. Picture a guy named Peter. He's browsing his favorite e-commerce app, looking at a shiny new laptop. He hits checkout, and right there, he's offered a 3-month EMI, an equal monthly installment plan. He taps it, an algorithm runs his credit in literal milliseconds, and boom, he's approved. He didn't have to open a separate banking app. He definitely didn't have to talk to a loan officer. It all just happened. And that right there is the whole ecosystem working perfectly. It's a completely frictionless mobile checkout experience. The consumer completely forgets the bank is even involved. The brand makes the sale, the enabler handles the instant data transfer, and the back-end bank provides the actual credit. It is a total win for all three parties, delivered in a fraction of a second. Incredible, right? Of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Section 3, navigating the ecosystem challenges. Completely rewiring the financial system is definitely going to have some roadblocks. The hurdles are actually huge. For starters, you've got technology architecture limitations. Legacy banks just weren't built with modular APIs in mind. Then there's the headache of risk assessment models. Like, how do you instantly underwrite a loan using just platform data? Add in reduced control over the user interface, adapting to a completely new culture, and the absolute scariest part for traditional institutions, the total loss of that primary relationship with the consumer.
This comparison really hits the nail on the head. It's a massive cultural identity crisis. In traditional banking, the bank owns the customer relationship. They hold all the brand control. But with embedded lending, the customer interacts entirely with the partner platform's interface. The bank's brand identity gets totally diluted. So traditional banks basically have to swallow their pride and accept becoming the invisible, regulated engine running someone else's brand experience. I mean, that is a total disruption of centuries of banking logic.
So, how do businesses actually come out on top? Section 4, winning the embedded future. Here is exactly how to succeed.
It really boils down to this exact 3-step playbook. Whether you're a provider, an enabler, or a distributor, you've got to follow this. Step 1, truly understand the high-value use cases for your specific segment. Step 2, select the right monetization models. Are you doing subscription fees, per transaction, revenue share? And step 3, partner up to accelerate delivery. You literally cannot build all of this from scratch, so don't even try.
And when we talk about finding those high-value use cases, we're really looking at where traditional banking has failed folks. The most lucrative opportunities are in solving super specific friction points. We're talking about unbanked populations relying solely on mobile apps, SMEs lacking formal documentation, gig workers with irregular incomes, or travelers who need flexible payments the exact second they're booking a flight. When you focus on these contextual, real-world moments, you open up entirely new revenue streams. Industry expert Simon Torrance summed this up perfectly. He said that BaaS enables brands to rejuvenate old business models that are being battered by digitalization. I love that phrasing. Tapping into this financial technology isn't just some cute side project anymore. It's literally the ultimate tool to rejuvenate your business and survive in a hyper-connected world. The walls between non-financial brands and traditional banking are completely vanishing right before our eyes. So here's the big question I want to leave you with today. Will you act fast and claim your slice of the $7 trillion pie? Or are you going to cling to the old way of doing things and wait around to be left entirely outside looking in? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you next time.